Colorism: The Impact on the African American Community by Jessica Canty. Colorism is discrimination against others due to their skin color. The term colorism refers to when lighter skin tones are preferred and darker skin is considered less desirable, or darker skin tones are preferred and lighter skin is considered less desirable. This affects the self esteem of African Americans, both light skin and dark skin. The St. Petersburg Times reports that this is an issue that African Americans often shy away from. In 2002, there were a reported 1,382 cases that involved discrimination of African American against African American due to their skin color, a number that has steadily increased since 1984. From as far back as slavery times, African Americans have been classified by skin complexion. Colorism in the United States is a practice that began in times of slavery due to the white slave owners' assertion that any person, black or associated with blackness, was inferior or lowly. Darker skinned people are considered less intelligent, less desirable, and overall seen as a lesser people. Lighter skinned people tend to have higher social standing, more positive networks, and more opportunities. Colorism is adversely affects the relationship between African American women and men. Darker skinned African Americans are less likely to get married, and those that do are more likely to marry persons at a lower level of socioeconomic status than themselves. The idea that darker African American women do not stand up to their lighter counterparts may cause them to lose self esteem and self confidence, which could in turn decrease their self worth. A search on Google Trends revealed that the topic of colorism has not created a buzz since 2005. This, this proves the topic is timely because the conversation about colorism has stopped. It is a good time to revisit the issue. Colorism plays a vital role in self esteem of African Americans and how they interact with each other. The book, the Color Complex: The Politics of Skin Color Among African Americans, discusses how colorism has affected African Americans in different aspects of their lives. Not only is self esteem affected, but also social status, relationship status, and other areas of life are affected because of colorism. I want to focus on how colorism has affected both light skinned and dark skinned African Americans. I want to speak to African Americans who have negative attitudes towards light skin or dark skin and why they have these attitudes. Speaking with a dark skinned African American and a light skinned African American will allow me to be fair. I will be able to present feelings, attitudes, and viewpoints of both sides. Presenting all sides or viewpoints of the topic will allow me to keep my personal feelings and out of the story. I plan to do a interview on Nachanda Hicks. Nachanda Hicks is a dark-skinned African American who has experienced a color complex because of her dark skin. She will be able to provide personal experience as well as personal feelings about being ridiculed or disliked about her skin color. She is also a psychology student, graduate student, and she will be able to expound and explain how colorism can affect self-esteem. I also plan to do an interview on Raphael Jackson. Mr. Jackson is an African American Studies professor at Bethune-Cookman University. He can provide historical information about colorism and how this issue has plagued the African American community for many years. This story is not a mainstream story because there is little articles about the issue during this time period. Many previous articles have discussed colorism and the history of colorism. They have also explored how colorism in the media has affected African Americans. This story is different from other articles because it will discuss how colorism is affecting the self-esteem as well as how it affects the other aspects of life such as employment, education, and personal growth. My target audience is African Americans. Colorism is practiced more in the African American community more than any other minority group. According to the St. Petersburg Times, more than any other minority group in the United States, blacks tend to discriminate against one another more. This story could possibly open up the eyes of others to the topic of colorism. People, African American people included, may be able to take a look inside themselves and address their own personal feelings and attitudes about skin color. Conversations about colorism have been started. Oprah Winfrey recently aired a documentary named Dark Girls on her network OWN that discussed colorism. Soledad O'Brien also has an ongoing series, Black in America, that airs on CNN that discusses the issue of colorism as well. This could mean that African Americans can address their attitudes about skin color and begin to eradicate the problem for once and all.